9 in TLC proudly bring you Let's Talk Gardening.
In the 80s and the 90s, water gardening was super popular in suburban America. And my grandparents were no exception. They built their own backyard oasis, koi ponds, oversized plants, the whole thing. In my grandma's words, this is how they got into water gardening.
This yard is 75 by 75. When we bought this house, it's all flat, nothing. And my husband is one of the dream that he always wanted to plan and make a pond and water and whatnot. And at that time, I don't care for any of it because I don't know anything. But then
it sure doesn't show.
And that's the backyard I grew up in. When I was 3, my grandparents would become my legal guardians, and they would raise me like their own. My grandma, she was tough, ornery even, but generally easy to get along with. My grandpa, on the other hand, was a little different. He was endlessly curious and was kind of a walking encyclopedia. He would explain almost anything, and once he started, it was really tricky to get him to stop. But hey, those were my grandparents. My grandma, what she taught me was a work ethic. And, she came to this country as a Vietnamese refugee with practically nothing and somehow built a life out of that nothing. My grandpa, he taught me how to be curious. He was the kind of person who always entertained any of my questions as a kid. Why the sky was blue most of the time, but sometimes it was red or pink. Or why the clouds were shaped one way one day, but they were shaped a different way another. Why they moved fast on some days, but looked like they didn't move at all on others. But together, they taught me how to garden. By the time I was 5, I was growing my own vegetables and fruits. I was hybridizing daylilies, building fences. They taught me how to build things, how to care for things. They taught me almost everything. But what they never would teach me is how to grieve a parent. And in 2017, my grandpa would get diagnosed with cancer. And he would fight, and he fought it with surgery and chemo. But in 2024, things kind of changed a bit. My grandma, she would get diagnosed too. Stage 4, they would say. And they'd say she was given 6 months to a year. I started spending basically all my time with them. After work, weekends, whenever I could. And slowly their health would decline. That following February, my grandfather, he would pass away. And a couple months later, my grandma followed. It's been almost a year now. And I still grieve them every day. There's really not a day that goes by that I don't think about them. I know, people my age, or really people in general, they lose their grandparents fairly young, but for me it feels a little bit different. It feels like I lost my mom and dad. And when you're told it's coming, it still feels like you weren't ready. The wound still feels open. And something that's helped me is that I've started gardening again. I've been digging holes, planting things. It kind of feels like childhood. Something about it, there's a kind of a quiet magic. For a moment, the sadness kind of lifts away. I hear the waterfall from my pond. I watch the fish circle the edges. And I remember the best parts about growing up with my grandparents. And I realize, even though they're gone, they're still here, and the things they taught me, in the things I grow. Grief isn't necessarily something you move on from, but I think it's something you carry. And how you carry it looks different for everyone. For me, it looks like this. My grandma used to say,
You plant the plant, and then a couple of weeks later, you see them bloom, and it's make you feel real good.
and I think she was right.